Nikola Tesla, Revising the Past, Part 1. 3 months after Tesla's Columbia College lecture, in August 1891, two engineers, Charles Eugene Lancelot Brown, of the Swiss firm of Maschinenfabrik Oerlikon, and Michael von Dolivo-Dobrowolski, representing the German firm Allgemeine Elektrizitätsgesellschaft e.g., galvanized the engineering community when they successfully transmitted 190 horsepower from a waterfall at Asmund factory on the Neckar River in Laufen to the International Electrical Exposition, which was being held at Frankfurt, Germany, 112 miles away. With the support of 3 different governments, the lines passed through Württemberg, Bavaria, and Prussia before arriving in Frankfurt. By using oil as an insulator, as Tesla had explained in his Columbia College lecture, Brown was able to generate as much as 40,000 volts on his equipment, 25,000 of which he transported along the wires, stepping them down to usable frequencies when they reached the exposition. The efficiency of 74.5% astounded his colleagues. Dobrowolski, who suggested that the invention was his conceptualization, utilized a 3-phase AC with a working frequency of 40 cycles per second instead of the single-phase current, with a frequency of 133 cycles per second that the Westinghouse people kept insisting on. The power was so great at the Frankfurt site that a large advertising sign with Athelsand incandescent lamps was lit, and a motor pump powering an artificial waterfall was harnessed. On December 16th, Michael Pupin delivered a talk before the AIE on polyphase systems. Having given the same talk a week before at the New York Mathematical Society, Pupin was proud to advance abstract theories on this new field of polyphase systems. With his hair swept back, wearing wire-rimmed glasses, a brush moustache tapered at the ends, and a professorial 3-piece suit, Pupin was fast readjusting to his return to the States. Now he was beginning to carve a name for himself. Dutifully, he had written Tesla before the talk to discuss his motors, but the inventor had eluded him. In his opening remarks at the AIE, with Arthur Kennelly, Elihu Thomson, Charles Bradley, and Charles Steinmetz present, Pupin referred to the beautiful inventions of Nikola Tesla and the completeness of the success which Dobrowolski and Brown obtained by the practical applications of these inventions. But he also described the German operation in such a way as to imply that aspects of it were independently conceived. It appears that Tesla did not attend the lecture. Instead, he wrote Pupin the day after, but it was not to offer congratulations or to extend an invitation to meet. Tesla suggested that Pupin obtain the original patent specifications. The German design was simply a copy of his work, but Pupin shot back. "I didn't think that you ought to find fault with me for not having given your inventions a fuller discussion. In the first place, it was a little bit too soon to discuss the practical details in a paper which treats of the most general fundamental principles of the polyphasal systems. Secondly, you know of your motors only by hearsay. I have not had the pleasure of being shown one by anybody. I looked you up twice at your hotel and wrote you once, but all my efforts were in vain." Pupin tried at the end of the letter to set up a personal interview, but Tesla was not one who could easily forgive such knavery, especially from a Serb who spoke the native tongue so poorly. To the hypersensitive Tesla, Pupin was a man who spread falsehoods, and his continual association with Thomson did not help. As Tesla was about to take a trip to Europe, a meeting of amelioration never took place. Concerning the dispute over whose invention it really was, it is important to realize that obfuscation of the truth continues to this day. The problem began with Michael von Dolivo-Dobrowolski himself, who was reluctant to admit that he got the idea from Tesla, and it was perpetuated by his friend Carl Herring, who wrote a prodigious number of articles on the episode in the journals as the event unfolded throughout 1891. Herring had been a professor of engineering at the university in Darmstadt, Germany, in the early 1880s. His protege Dobrowolski, a native of St. Petersburg and the son of a Russian nobleman, replaced Herring when he retired from the university at the end of 1883. C.E. Elec Brown, a Swiss native and son of a designer of steam engines, began successfully transmitting electrical power with AC dynamos he had constructed while working in Lucerne. Brown, who was younger than Dobrowolski and 7 years younger than Tesla, had received most of his training in Winterthur and Basel, where he worked for the Bergin machine shops. In 1884, he began his employment at Oerlikon and within 2 years became Director of Operations. On February 9, 1891, Brown delivered an address in Frankfurt on the subject of long-distance transmission of electrical power. and that is where he met Dobrowolski. A partnership was formed between Oerlikon and AEG, and within 7 months, their success between Laufen and Frankfurt was achieved. Now, with Dobrowolski's claims and Höring's one-sided reporting in the electrical journals, factions of the American engineering community that were locked out of the Tesla patents could extol the Laufen-Frankfurt venture, while at the same time continuing to imply that Tesla's work was not intrinsic to its success. Ironically, the Westinghouse side wanted to downplay the event as well, not only because it proved Tesla right and them wrong, but also because it dwarfed their success at Telluride. Thus, when perusing the Westinghouse literature, one is hard-pressed to find any mention of Laufen-Frankfurt at all. Pupin, in his lectures, did not support Tesla's role, nor did Kennedy, Thomson, or Bradley. Charles Brochu Steinmetz, however, was in another category. Like Pupin, he had just emigrated from Europe, and also like Pupin, he was academically oriented, with no particular economic stake in the invention at that time. Steinmetz, who had fled Germany in 1889 in order to escape imprisonment for being a revolutionary socialist, was a brilliant student of mathematics from the University of Breslau. A dwarf hunchback, with his head sunk into his shoulders and one leg shorter than the other, Steinmetz had to continually overcome his odd appearance and frail disposition by displaying an advanced intellect. Just 26 years old and still attempting to cultivate a moustache and beard, Steinmetz, who was gaining a reputation for his work on the law of hysteresis, which involved a mathematical explanation that explained the lagging of magnetic effects when electromagnetic forces are changed, recognized some flaws in Pupin's talk, as this would be one of his earliest attempts to express himself before his peers in the difficult English language. He carefully bolstered the addendum by bringing along calculations and drawings. Working in Yonkers, Steinmetz had developed a single-phase commutator motor a year before, in the summer of 1890. With brazenly long shoulder-length hair, the gnome was dressed in a slightly wrinkled three-piece suit adorned with an opulent watch chain and a pair of pince-nez that hung distinctively from a strap attached to his right collar. Standing to his full height of a feet and reaching for his glasses to read of his calculations, Steinmetz noted in his German accent that Ferraris built only a little toy. He also went on to correct Pupin's implication that the Dobrowolski creation was the first to use a three-phase system. I cannot agree with that in the least, for that already exists in the old Tesla motor. Summing up, Steinmetz concluded, I really cannot see anything new ... in the new Dobrowolski system. It would take a few months for Steinmetz to realize why his colleagues raised their eyebrows as he dashed all hopes for Dobrowolski's claims. Nevertheless, they were impressed with his analysis and mathematical expertise. Elihu Thomson returned to his firm of Thomson Houston in Lynn, Massachusetts, with the knowledge that a new mathematical genius had arrived from Europe, and soon thereafter Thomson Houston offered Steinmetz a job at Lynn. Meanwhile, in Pittsburgh, unbeknown to Edison, Westinghouse had been surreptitiously meeting with Henry Villard, Edison's financial backer, over a 2-year period to discuss a possible merger. Villard, who had recently combined a number of smaller companies with Edison Electric to create Edison General Electric, was well aware that Edison did not get along with Westinghouse. Villard was an immigrant from Germany, the son of a Bavarian judge. Having tried in his earlier days to set up a free-soil German settlement in Kansas, Villard was the individual who drove the Golden Spike in the Northern Pacific Railroad to link the West Coast with the East. He conferred with J. Pierpont Morgan, the real power behind the operation, and had Morgan send Edward Dean Adams, a longtime banking associate, to Menlo Park to try and get Edison to align with Westinghouse. Thriving on beating the other guy, Edison would hear none of it. Westinghouse, he said, has gone crazy over sudden accession of wealth or something unknown to me, and is flying a kite that will land him in the mud sooner or later. Legal efforts in trying to protect the Edison light bulb patents had already cost Edison $2 million and Westinghouse the same. The Edison camp had decided to sue Westinghouse rather than Thomson Houston because the Pittsburgh company had purchased United States Electric, the concern that held the competing patents from Sawyer Mann and Hiram Maxim, while Thomson Houston had only Ailey's agreement. Thus, while two giants fought each other in what Edison called a suicide of time, Thomson Houston got rich. On July 14, 1891, after many years of battles and appeals on priority of invention of the light bulb, Judge Bradley ruled in favor of Edison. Although Westinghouse was caught with the wrong light bulb patents, His Tesla AC power system was an asset worth attaining, but Westinghouse was proving difficult to negotiate with. Villard therefore began to make overtures to Tesla directly, but the inventor had to yield to Westinghouse's decisions. "Dear Sir," Tesla wrote Villard in his tidiest penmanship, "I have approached Mr. Westinghouse in a number of ways and endeavored to get to an understanding, but the results have not been very promising." Realizing this, and also considering carefully the chances and probabilities of success, I have concluded that I cannot associate myself with the undertaking you contemplate. Tesla reluctantly concluded the letter by wishing the financier best success in his pioneer enterprise. Villard switched tactics and approached Thomson Houston with the thought of buying them out. He had gone up to Lane, Massachusetts, in February and had continued secret negotiations with Charles Coffin, Chief Executive Officer CEO of Thomson Houston, throughout the summer. In December, a meeting was held at 23 Wall Street in Morgan's office to finalize plans for a merger. After Morgan looked over the financial records of both companies, he realized that Edison Electric, which was in debt for $3.5 million, had less revenue than the smaller and solvent Thomson Houston. Morgan thereupon reversed himself and suggested that Thomson Houston buy out Edison Electric. Either way, he created a monopoly. Simultaneously, Morgan maneuvered Villard out of the company altogether. He had to blame someone for the problems, and Charles Coffin took control of the new consolidation. They named the company General Electric GE. End of part 1. Nikola Tesla, revising the past. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.